Good evening. I would like to formally welcome everyone, including members of the gallery and press, to this council meeting. My name is Councillor Sarah Hayden and I'm the Mayor at the Golden Plains Shire Council. Tonight this council meeting is taking place within the council chambers at the Golden Plains Shire Council Civic Centre in Bannockburn and is open to the public. This meeting is being live streamed in accordance with council's governance rules and I welcome any viewers joining us online. As the meeting is open to the public to attend, if the live stream ceases at any time, the meeting will continue. I will now recite the opening declaration on behalf of all councillors. We, the councillors of Golden Plains Shire, declare that we will undertake, on every occasion, to carry out our duties in the best interest of the community and that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in this council by the people of Golden Plains Shire. Golden Plains Shire spans the traditional lands of the Wadawurrung and Eastern Maar people. Council acknowledges them as the traditional owners and custodians and pays its respects to both Wadawurrung and Eastern Maar elders past, present and emerging. Council extends that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of Golden Plains Shire. I would now like to make a brief statement regarding CEO Shane Walden. Shane, on behalf of Council and the community, I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge Shane Walden's time as CEO of our Council, and we sincerely wish him all the best in his future endeavours.
Hello, Mayor Hayden.
Confirmation of minutes. Councillors, we have a resolution before us to confirm the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held on 17th of December 2024 and the unscheduled meeting of Council held on 23rd of December 2024 as circulated. Can I please have a mover? Cunningham. And a seconder? Councillor Sharkey. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Conflicts of interest. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest tonight? Before we commence tonight's formal agenda, Councillor Cunningham will read a short statement. And I would like to note that this is not an opportunity to enter into debate. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to take this opportunity tonight to address a matter between myself and Councillor Sharkey. During the recent council election campaign, I posted some comments regarding council candidate Owen Sharkey on local social media sites. I would like to take this opportunity to offer a sincere apology to Councillor Sharkey for my error of judgment at that time. Upon reflection, any concerns thought I had regarding Councillor Sharkey's performance as a councillor during last term of council, I should have considered addressing these concerns internally and not in the public arena. During tonight's meeting, Council will have the opportunity to adopt the Council Internal Resolution Procedure, as is now required by the Local Government Act, which was not available to councillors previously in the last term. The implementation of this policy procedure will allow for an additional pathway to address and handle conflicts between councillors and will provide support and encouragement being available for matters raised between councillors to be dealt with in a professional manner internally. And I look forward to working with Councillor Sharkey in the coming term. As I say, at the moment we're dealing with some matters which I think needs former mayors, senior councillors to stand up and support the mayor and also the organisation during this time of transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. We now move on. Thank you, Councillor Sharkey. We now move on to item 7.1, review of instrument of appointment and authorisation. I refer councillors to page 8 of the agenda for this report. Recommendation in the exercise of the powers conferred by section 147(4) of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 and other legislation referred to in the attached instrument of appointment, the instrument, Council resolves that 1. The members of Council staff referred to in the instrument as shown in attachment 1 be appointed and authorised as set out in the instrument. 2. The Chief Executive Officer is authorised to sign the instrument And 3, the previous instrument dated 26th of November 2024 is revoked. Are there any questions? Do I have the mover of the recommendation? Councillor Kirby. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Robbins. Mover, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, this is a council process internally whereby a new staff member is given authorisation to carry out its legislative requirements. Our resolution is to add Joanne Wilson, who has begun her employment here at Golden Plains Shire as Director of Community Planning and Growth. So I'd like to just say that this is part of the process, and we look forward to working with her and adding her as well, adding her onto the authorisation. Thank you.
Did you wish to speak to the motion?
I'd just also like to welcome Jo as our new Director of Community Planning.
Any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? We'll now put the motion. All those in favour? We move on to item 7.2, Amplitel Lease Agreement Approval Request. I refer councillors to page 11 of the agenda for this report. Recommendation is that council support the proposal of Amplitel Pty Ltd to lease a portion of land located within the boundary of the Golden Plains Shire Council Meredith Works Depot for a period of 30 years. 2, authorise the CEO to sign the lease. Are there any questions? Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm just seeking confirmation that when the applicant applies for the required permit, that future community public consultation will be undertaken.
I'll refer the question to CEO Walden.
Through you, Mayor Hayden, yes, I can confirm that as part of the planning process, the usual consultation processes will be in place for any construction works.
Thank you.
Do I have any other questions? Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Robbins, and a seconder? Councillor Kirby. Mover, do you wish to speak to the motion?
This is to grant a long-term lease for a small parcel. We heard some concerns from the community that the details of the planned telecommunications tower haven't. I just want to reiterate that the question before us tonight isn't whether they can build the tower, but whether they can lease the land, and just to reiterate that there will be further consultation that requires sharing detailed designs and reports down the track.
Do you wish to speak to the motion?
I think Emma has done a great job of summing that up. Just to say that this will be followed up with community consultation if this is passed tonight, and this once it goes into the planning stage. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Are there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Gamble.
Yeah, I have concerns that it's generally accepted that telecommunication towers providers share their infrastructure wherever possible, and that's encouraged. Otherwise, we'd have multiple towers popping up everywhere, and sometimes that would be to the detriment of the community. There are people that are also concerned that I looked up the infrastructure provider for telecommunications, and there's 7 existing infrastructure towers within the vicinity of under 12 kilometres away. There's one that's only used for NBN that's only 700 metres away, just in the outskirts of Meredith on the rail line. So I'm concerned that that I don't have enough information to assess that this is the correct way to go, that to be able to be assured that steps have been undertaken and found not to be satisfactory, or there's technical reasons why that tower can't be shared. So I'm looking at option 3. I think that would be a more prudent course of action, which is the council request further information on this item. Thank you.
Any councillors who wish to speak to the motion?
I'm taking on board what Councillor Gavin just said. I think that what the concern he's raising will come up in the consultation, but I think as far as having towers around, it's important for communication. Where I live, there's no communication at all. Still got carrier pigeons. So I think that we've got to take on board what the people require. And it's all right to say there's a tower here and a tower there. They don't do that much damage to the environment. They're not like the wind towers from Shelford to Rokewood. And I think that it's a very important thing to have communication in current areas of Victoria, and I think we should support it. If there's issues with it with the community, it will come out in the consultation.
Any other councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Who wish to exercise your right of reply? Sorry.
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Now put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Robbins, Councillor Sharkey, Councillor Kirby, Councillor Cunningham. Motion is... All those against, sorry. Councillor... We'll now move on to item 7.3, Community Grants Program Policy Review. I refer councillors to page 16 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council adopt the proposed Community Grants Program Policy as attached. Are there any questions? Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Robbins. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cunningham, thank you. Mover, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you. These changes are focused on providing clear guidance and transparency for the prevention of fraud in administering the grant programs. They implement best practice recommendations from the Victorian Auditor General's Office, and it's important that our grant programs are able to be understood by the community. Thank you.
Wish to speak to the motion?
Not a verification. I thought we were talking council expenses and meeting attendance. Am I in the wrong? Apologies.
Page 16.
No, looking at that one, I agree that the Vago report. Yes, I'm happy to support the option there, that the option which is recommended by the officers to update the policies to develop in line with Vago's fraud control. Thank you. My apologies.
Sorry.
My apologies.
Any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? The motion. Now, all those in favour? Now move to item 7.4, Councillor Expenses and Meeting Attendance Report, Quarter 1 and Quarter 2. I refer councillors to page 19 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council note the contents of the Councillor Expenses and Attendance Report for Quarter 1 and Quarter 2 of 2024 and 25. Are there any questions? Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Robbins. A seconder? Councillor Sharkey. Mover, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. It's in the public interest for this information to be made publicly available in accordance with the public transparency principles under the Local Government Act. The fact that there was an election in the middle of the reporting period makes it a little bit harder to follow, but the officers preparing the report have endeavoured to provide information about the start and end dates of the various councillors' terms to help with that. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's as Councillor Robbins highlighted there, it is a quarterly report that comes and generally just shows the public where we're at. And all my time on council, we've always been well below budget on all our items. I don't think I've ever seen a report come where we're over budget. And as Councillor Robbins highlighted there, this one probably is a little bit high with that induction process, but it is an area. I think where we're really concerned about, making sure we're well under budget, but it's also an area where we can be too far under budget in terms of that training, new councillors getting that training and experience and helping us to be better councillors. It's a fund there that the public expect us to use for the betterment of our roles as councillors. So again, we're well under budget there, and thank you.
Any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Now, all those in...
Can I speak on this?
Sorry, Councillor Gamble.
Just briefly to note that our expenses are less than 20% of the budgeted allocation, and I think we can do better than that, to spend a bit more. I think that's, even though this period was a bit unusual because we went into the caretaker mode for election, but that sort of professional development's really important, especially and also some of these activities that cost a bit of money are important for us to be able to network and advocate with government ministers and fellow councillors and just generally to be aware of what's happening in the region and the state as well. So I encourage fellow councillors to use a bit more money for good. Thanks.
Are there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? I will now move to item 7.5, update of the Waste Management and Resource Recovery Services Policy. Director Josipovic will introduce this item. I refer councillors to page 23 of the agenda for this report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report provides advice to Council regarding adopting an updated Waste Management and Resource Recovery Services Policy, which I'll refer to as the policy moving forward. The following key policy updates have been made in accordance with Council's previously endorsed glass transition plan and service specifications. The changes include a reference to a standard 3-bin service to all residential properties as well as commercial properties that elect to use council waste collection services. The 3rd bin service is the new 140 litre glass bin collected every 4 weeks, and the reduction of frequency of the recycling bin service to fortnightly. Should be noted that when FOGO, being Food Organic and Green Organic Service, is introduced, which we anticipate to be late 26, early 27, it is possible that changes to the waste services will be required, and as such a more extensive review and update of the policy will be required at that time. The current proposed changes are procedural, reflecting Council's already approved specifications and formal Council decisions on preferred model of service delivery for the implementation of the glass service. The policy is the culmination of work over the last 4 years or so since the state government introduced reforms requiring all councils to introduce a glass service by 2027 and food organic and green organic service by 2030. Just in summary, the council resolutions that supported this glass the glass rollout and introduction of service include on the 27th of March 23, where council endorsed an expression of interest for government funding for council to be a glass service early adopter, which provided a saving to council and the community of over $120,000 for the purchase of glass bins. On the 28th of November 2023, council endorsed the rollout of glass service mandated by state, authorised the purchase of glass bins and noted the change in recycling bin frequency from weekly to fortnightly to coincide with the glass bin service introduction. And finally, on the 11th of June 2024, the Council Contracts Committee awarded the receival and processing of commingled recyclable and glass material contract for a period of 3 years plus two by 1 year options, which commence on the 1st of July 24. As you will know, the glass bin service commenced last week, and we are monitoring that feedback. The waste team is considering what we are hearing and community sentiment to assess if we require any additional targeted communications regarding the commingled recycling, glass and general waste. This is an ongoing work in progress. I checked today the number of official complaints submitted in relation to the glass, and there's 77 official complaints, which is about 0.1% of the 9,700 properties that had bins delivered. But we did have a significant uptick in phone calls, people asking for explanations, and most of those calls were answered at the point of contact. So there was about 700 calls over the last couple of months, but like I say, about 95% of those were resolved at the point of contact, and that's about a 200% increase on normal waste-related inquiries at this time of year. There was also commentary that we need to talk about the benefits of the recycling changes, separating glass, etc. This has been the front and centre of our communications. However, we will continue to explore how we can enhance this sort of messaging. There was also some queries about the value of money of reducing commingled recycling to every fortnight and only providing a month glass service. Excuse me. Our webpage has been updated to note that this decision was made to keep the increase in the waste charge to a minimum, as the EPA levy will be increasing by nearly 30% from this year to the next financial year. It'll be going from $129 per tonne to $168 per tonne. The transportation costs and labour costs all increase in accordance with our contractual obligations, averaging between 3 and 5% since the beginning of this contract. The reducing in commingled collection was supported by audits that also showed that only 60 to 65% of our bins were presented weekly, and many were not full. Council was able to keep the increase passed on to the community lower when taking all this into account. The draft budget will include the revised fee, which we've suggested be only increased by about $4 from year to year. The waste team will undertake a community survey in the future for FOGO services, where we will ask residents how they want to be informed of any changes and receive information on how to use their bins. This feedback, the feedback received for the glass bin rollout will also help us build a better comms plan for the FOGO service and investigate new channels of communication, which might be text, emails, or whatever feedback we get. Moving forward, we'll also be undertaking some bin audits this year. We will go to a request for quote this week to select a contractor to undertake bin composition audits, aiming to take place early May 25. We'll also do truck audits in accordance with our contract at the South Geelong Transfer Station, and we will be monitoring presentation rates of all bins on a monthly basis. As I mentioned, this report and recommendation tonight seeks to update the policy to reflect the implementation of previous decisions of Council that have now gone live. Happy to take any questions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So the recommendation is that Council adopt the updated Waste Management and Resource Recovery Services Policy. Are there any questions? Aki.
A point of clarity. What's in front of us tonight is simply a policy where we're making amended words to that policy for the introduction of the glass bin. We're not making a decision on whether residents are getting the bins collected and on certain days. And this is just a policy update.
Yeah,
just changing a few words.
correct.
In the
The policy is updated to reflect decisions already made that supported the rollout of the glass service. It doesn't go into the detail of what day, specific day, because the way the collection is structured is in zones. So some people have their bins collected on a Monday, some Tuesday, some Wednesday, and that's how the contractor services their contract with the number of trucks they have available. It's a high-level policy, correct?
Any further questions?
Yeah, I'm just concerned that if there is not the glass uptake with the purple bins, are we still able to reduce that back to, say, a quarterly bin pickup?
As we've discussed with Council previously, we'll be monitoring the volume and presentation rates of all bins, but specifically glass, and we'll monitor that for 12 months to see whether we need to tweak the service including the frequency of collection, etc. One of the challenges for us is we don't know what the impact of the container deposit scheme will have on glass presentation rates, etc., etc. So again, the industry standard and 74 of the 78 the majority, 75% of all councils that have a glass bin service do it monthly, and the information we're getting is that's about right. But if we need to tweak it after 12 months in service, we can certainly look at that, yes. I'm not sure that 6 months is enough to get through that full sort of seasonal, Christmas time people will use more glass, I guess. There'll be more beers drunk, more wines, that sort of stuff. So I think we need a full 12-month cycle to get a full picture.
Any further questions? Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Sharkey? Is that, yeah, mover? And do I have a seconder? Councillor Gamble. Mover, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks very much. Happy to move this, and I was probably going to largely speak to this just being an update of policy, but we seem to have just gone, and I can understand from the public's perception an item like this coming and having to dive to a deeper level. I'm going to defend council on this, and I went for a run this morning, and I know there's been a 200% increase in all those people, but there's many of my neighbours that are still confused by the rollout of the bin. It is extremely. People hate change. I think if council did everything perfect with communications, it did everything in line, it still would be an area that we would have an uptake in complaints and that. People just simply don't like change. One of the difficult things, having been on this journey for such a long time and seen Director Josipovic and his team doing some really good. We went down to a deep level as the previous council, determining where we had all the data, the numbers, and trying to make a valid decision on the amount of bins and all that. And halfway during our consultation with the public on that, the state government in their wisdom just say, well look, we're going to have a purple bin and we're going to have a green FOGO bin. I've spoken to many residents that don't want glass, don't want FOGO, but it's legislated and it's that. So all that consultation, all that good work we do just goes out the window, and when the public want to throw mud, they'll throw it at council rather than the state government. We're going to go through this again when FOGO comes. I think the sentiment of us as the previous council, when it came to that purple bin, we wanted to put off as long as possible because we sense that our community probably won't use those bins as much as a metro council. But we've got to appreciate them. We were awarded, or we got that funding, and we were able to bring forward the purple bins, change everything, and then offer them at a cheaper price. The cost of rubbish is escalating. It's a very, I think this is an area that I think we as a council group really need to get down with the community and just have some face-to-face conversations, because this is very complex. It's very frustrating for staff, for councillors, and for the public putting the bins out. So it's so I'm diversing away from the actual policy here, but feel that there's justification for the bins. It's an extremely complicated area. And whilst some people think there's easy solutions there, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but thank you.
Wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please. Yeah, as Director Josipovic outlined, there's several factors in why council acted in the way it has in implementing the glass bin rollout and a reduction from weekly to a fortnightly recycling bin service. One of the key issues is the increased cost. Despite us getting that $120,000 saving by bringing the this service on quicker, which meant that it was, and also going into election cycle and things, and also knowing that, well, I'm talking about the engagement factor. I wasn't entirely happy that I thought maybe we should have done more, but recognising that we are going into a full organic, the FOGO, food organics and green organic service as well. So that will necessitate a really much more involved consultation period and community engagement. We have to recognise also that this is a key focus as part of our sustainability goals within our policies and plans as a council in general. The way it's been done has kept the increase in fees down. If we had have kept the bins up, the recycling bin service the same, it would have resulted in increased fees. So that's a big factor as well. And also, we're not certain, as Councillor Josipovic mentioned, the impact of the container deposit scheme, how that's going to impact as well, and that should be another reason why there's less going in, or an option why the recycling bin mightn't be filling up as much as it was. Can I also, this collecting the glass is really important. It's part of raw materials that go into, there's generally a shortage of building materials, and glass can be used directly as a percentage into materials such as road bitumen, and so it's a way of keeping costs for those sort of materials down overall in the community. To conclude, as part of the change that we have to go through, it's a necessary journey, and this is only a small step, but I compliment the officers and the council for undertaking this transition to better practices, and I urge everybody in the community to be as responsible as possible. Thank you.
Are there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just wondering, I can't find the cost of how much we were going to save the residents by reducing the bins, or how much extra would they have had to have paid if we had kept that extra fortnightly bin. Thank you.
If we had have continued with the business as usual, and keeping in mind these are estimates that haven't been fully tested because we assumed we wouldn't be introducing it. And the other thing I'd point out regarding costs is that legally it's a cost recovery fee. We cannot charge more than it costs us to deliver the service, right? So at the moment, 24.25, it's 4.47. We estimate that if we had have kept the recycling going on a weekly basis, it would have been around about $490 per property, which is about a 9 to 10% increase. As it is, we've kept it down to about 0.8% or 0.9%.
I'll now put the motion. Oh, sure.
Yes, I just wanted to just double check on what the prices were, so we were making sure we were keeping the prices, saving at least $50 a quarter, just for our residents' sakes. I'd just like to also mention that the problem is it's the packaging. We have so much packaging these days in regards to filling our bins. Now, as a council, we really have to step up and really, we have to make businesses, supermarkets and that accountable for the amount of rubbish that, is being packaged with our groceries, for example, or packaging when we buy something, it's all packaging. So I just think it's something that we need to really look at within our shire and move forward with trying to reduce it. And another thing too is, because I know that there is a lot of people battling out in the community, and especially young families, and they are filling their bins up. And I think it's the general waste is, there's not as much now, but it's the yellow bins where we've got more hard plastics and cans and that sort of thing, unless you're taking them to get a deposit back off them from the deposit scheme. But I think, you know, when we were going through COVID, it was care for your neighbours. Why can't we do that now? And if you know that you've got a bin that's only half full, why can't we turn around and say to our neighbours, I'm happy for you to put rubbish in my bin. Well, you know, if it's recycling, put recycling in it. If it's waste, put waste in. Because as we heard, the prices are just going up and up. And so if we can all look out for each other in the community, I think that would be a bonus. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Now put the motion. All those in favour?
Sorry. Just closing on that.
Oh, sorry, yep, move it.
Yeah, so just just appreciating, councillors, that this is the overarching policy on this. I think the big thing to remember there, whilst this issue can get very complicated, Director Josh Serpovic mentioned there, this is ongoing work. This is work in progress. We are monitoring this, and we're there. So we do have opportunities if there's something, there's triggers to pull to bring this and rejig our collections and all that. So it is something that we as a council are monitoring, and we'll continue to monitor. So it's well worth mentioning. Thank you.
All those in favour? Item 7.6. 7.6 is the planning scheme amendment of Ormond Street Bannockburn rezoning post-exhibition. I refer councillors to page 28 of the agenda for this report. Recommendation is that Council authorise officers to make changes to Amendment C105 GPLA in accordance with this report. 2. Refer all submissions to an independent planning panel pursuant to section 23(1)(b) of the Planning and Environment Act. And 3. Authorise officers or suitable persons to represent Council at the planning panel hearing generally in accordance with the response to submissions outlined in this report. Are there any questions? I have a mover of the recommendation, Councillor Robbins. And do I have a seconder? Sorry, Councillor Kirby, I think I grimped. Just wish to speak to the motion.
Yeah, thank you. This area has been considered for future residential development for a long time, and in response to submissions, council officers have made some recommended changes to the amendment having to do with ensuring adequate buffer zones around Bruce Creek, better stormwater management and transport planning. I'm supportive of the recommended changes, and I'm also supportive of it going to an independent planning panel because there are some submissions that aren't able to be resolved by council.
Moving on from our previous meeting when this just come to council, I personally would like to apologise for the misunderstanding of the proposal. I was led to believe that all residents in Ormond Street were in approval of this planning scheme rezoning. This was not the case, as I met with a couple who had not been part of this process. Going forward, we need to ensure that these residents can now be heard through the process of an independent planning panel so as to sit impartially and consider their objections. Some points to consider. Can they be included in the rezoning? How will this residential development be sympathetic to the adjoining rural landscape? Where will the paths and bike tracks be connected to Bruce's Creek?
Councillor Kirby, I request that you refine the debate to the motion at hand.
It is the motion
I
at
don't
hand
think
regarding the planning
relevant to the
application
report.
and going, yeah, I'm going to finish that up with an actual statement at the end. So these are the concerns from the residents that were put forward to all the councillors, and I'm a voice in the chamber for them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. This is only kicking off a process. That all that Councillor Kirby's talking about will come into play in that process. We're bouncing the ball. This process could take 2 years, and all those considerations we take into account at that point. And there's a waste of time talking about them now.
Are there any councillors who wish? Oh, Councillor Kirby, yeah, can you please wrap up your? Have you got a final?
Thank you. So some of the other concerns were, how will Ormond Street be upgraded due to it being a dead-end street, a dirt road to accommodate vehicles using this road as part of the application? How will a perimeter road be constructed along the southern border to fulfil the bushfire management plan? The residents are concerned regarding the construction period of this development. What protection will be in place to ensure levels of noise, dust, litter and work traffic are managed? Will there be time limits on working hours during construction? Will there be limits on work days of high fire danger with the site in a bushfire-prone area? There appears to be no planning or resources to mitigate the overwhelming impact on their amenity. And how is their rural character of the area to be maintained? Due to these concerns, I commend Council to vote for this recommendation, especially...
Councillor Sharkey?
I appreciate the comments, but it's not to the motion.
It is the motion now because I'm speaking up, I'm summing up.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't believe it is to the motion.
Councillor Kirby, if you could wrap up the statement just in regards to the motion. Thank you. Just keeping on topic.
So due to these concerns, I recommend Council to vote for this recommendation, especially item 2 in the recommendation, so as to refer all submissions to an independent planning panel so their voices can be heard. Thank you.
Kirby. Is there any other councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Sharkey, I think you grabbed your hand up just in...
Thanks very much. I just wanted to speak to it, and I appreciate Councillor Kirby's comments on that, but the reason in which calling a point of order, I don't want this to be perceived as what it is not. The objectors are having their say, the officers are putting together this submission. It's all been put together. This is generally one of the easiest things that we as councillors can support, because we're going off to the independent umpire. It's going off to a panel, and the objectors can have their further say. We're actually removed from the process. It doesn't cost us then anything as council other than the officers' time to go through this process. The applicant will be covering the cost of the panel hearing. This is one of the greatest things that you can support as a councillor. So I'm only just sort of saying that the arguments that are held within it, it's not for us to make that decision here tonight. That will be for another day. We're simply suggesting that we go off to a panel hearing. So I'm more than happy to support this. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, look, I think Councillor Robbins sort of summed it up pretty significantly when she spoke, taking into account the many pages of information that we've been supplied with and presentation, and taking into account objectors' concerns. I agree with also with Councillor Sharkey that, you know, the officer's recommendation is to forward this to an independent panel, which will review all the information in front of it and hopefully make a fair recommendation on the process going forward. So I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation.
Are there any other councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Gamble.
Thank you, Mayor. Given the concerns and the nature of the submissions, and the importance of this significant new subdivision within the Bannockburn structure plan to be implemented, potentially, then it's 170 houses potentially, and those concerns of note. Among those concerns relating to this direction to a planning panel was really interesting, useful community submissions, including the identification of a mapping discrepancy. And I was also of note was the statutory authority involvement in this planning with the Department of Transport recognise or identifying the importance of lifting the prioritisation of active transport requirements and emphasis in this planning application. So, yeah, so I think as a council, it's a broad identifier as a council we need to plan for and make the linkages for active transport going forward. And as well as the internal one along Bruce's Creek that's part of this, there is also, we as a council need to plan for those linkages to make, such as along the Bannockburn-Shelford Road, which could also include the lagoon and the industrial park and the Bannockburn Bush. It'd be useful to link all of those into this planning proposal going forward. So I commend the officers for taking it to an independent panel to resolve the issues, and I think that I support the mover. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Robbins, did you wish to exercise your right of reply?
Thank you.
I will now put the motion. All those in favour? Now move to item 7.7. And 2021 to 2025 implementation quarter 2. I refer councillors to page 38 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council note the implementation of the Year 4 Quarter 2 actions, 1st of October 2024 to 31st of December 2024, of the Council Plan 2021 to 2025. Are there any questions? Mover of the recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cunningham. Mover, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, the council plan, for those new councillors on board, this is one of our top documents, one underneath the 2040 vision. So this is quarter 2 of Year 4, so we've got halfway through this year's one on this, and we'll also appreciate that we're going through the process of delivering or preparing the next council plan, which will be our whole term. So it's quite a I find it quite a difficult document to go through and actually, like, this is the document that we hold the organisation accountable on, and you know, reading through this report, we're well on track, delivering all the wonderful things that council do. The council plan is, for those people in the community that think that council is only just roads, rates and rubbish, this is a fantastic document to say to those residents here, have a read of this and see the amount of programs that we deliver. So I'd say we're tipping along very nicely, mindful that we're coming to the end of this one, and it's been a long and a nice journey, but I think we're doing a great job there. Thank you.
Thank you. Not much else to add there. I think Councillor Sharkey summed it up pretty well, but reading through the documents and the information provided to us, as it says, it looks like we're progressing well throughout the second quarter. A lot of actions well underway, and as I said, the future planning will continue to see the completion of the council plan for this term of council. Thank you.
Are there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Right. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour?
I'd like to speak on it, please. Too late.
Now, all those in favour? now move to item 7.8. Oath or affirmation of office. I refer councillors to page 42 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that council receive the signed oath and affirmation taken by Councillor Gavin Gamble on Friday the 17th of January on 2025. Are there any questions? Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Cunningham. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Robbins. Mover, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Pretty straightforward procedural matter, I think, and just welcome Councillor Gamble back to the councillor group and wish him all the best, but otherwise, yeah, so it's pretty straightforward procedural matter. Happy to support. Thank you.
Happy to receive Councillor Gamble's affirmation of office and welcome him back to council.
Any councillors wish to speak against the motion? Too late, Gavin. Sorry, Councillor Gamble, it's too late to speak. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour?
Oh, I was going to speak on it.
Oh, you can speak on it. No, I will allow you to speak on it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, thanks for the favourable opinions expressed there. And the I've updated my profile on the councillor page so people there can read the particular priorities and strengths I believe that I balance the council with, but also I'm a strong believer in the importance of good governance apart from my sort of more green environmental credentials. But the I'd also just like to, in accepting this or seeing this affirmation of office being accepted, I'd also like to offer a statement of support for the Mayor, who I believe is sincere, dedicated, in my opinion, doing the best job possible, and also publicly state support for the officers and the overall organisation. And I'm looking forward to doing good, positive things for our community into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gamble. It's great to have you on board. I will now put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous decision. Thank you. Point 9, Local Government Performance Reporting Framework, Mid-Year Report. I refer councillors to page 44 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that council receive and note the mid-year report on the Local Government Performance Report for the period 1st of July 2024 to 31st of December 2024. Are there any questions? A mover of the recommendation?
Yeah.
I have a seconder. Cunningham? Councillor Sharkey, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks. This one is another document that comes to us on a quarterly update. It is very difficult to analyse this to a deeper level when it comes quarterly. Like the end of year provides a better look at it. A better analysis of it is done at the end of the year. So just trying to compare quarter to quarter is quite difficult in there. But it is a very good document to get down and drill down to sort of see how we are performing. There is areas there that will rise and above averages and give you the opportunity to analyse, be it curbside collection, bins missed is identified there, and supports the comments earlier regarding bin collections and that. So you're able to drill down to areas like that. Having gone through this, there's a couple of areas that sort of look like they're of concern, but it's hard to sort of really analyse that when you're sort of at quarter two, and there is periods of the year that are higher than others, but overall at the end of the year it sort of levels out. So again, it is good, a good document to go down to. We're held accountable in there as councillors from in terms of our expenses, cost, and our decisions made behind closed doors. All those things are there for us to analyse as we go along and keep an eye on. But as I said, it is quite hard quarter to quarter, and look forward to the end of year results. Thank you.
Not much else to add, but as it states, we're required as council under the Local Government Act to report on its performance. It is also probably a little bit hard coming through that quarter where we've had council elections and inductions and things like that, but overall I think council is on track. So I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Any wish to speak against the motion?
I'd like to speak on it, please.
A little bit quicker, Councillor Gamble, but I'll let you go ahead with this one.
Thank you. Just to quickly note that this is a requirement of all local governments, well, Victorian anyway, and it's demonstrating and implementing an important commitment to promoting transparency and accountability in the local government sector. So it's also should be seen as a progress report. It's already gone to the Audit and Risk Committee, which involves expert, external, independent oversight, and so it's great to have the information, the details contained in the extensive attachment Councillor Sharkey alluded to, with 56 areas covered. So yeah, so it's important sort of data set for our local government as well as across the whole of Victoria. Thank you.
We'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Item 7.10, the Bannockburn Integrated Water Management Plan. I refer councillors to page 47 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council adopt the Bannockburn Integrated Water Management Plan. Are there any questions? I have a mover of the recommendation. I have a seconder, Councillor Cunningham. Wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, this is an important consideration for Bannockburn as a growth area in the Shire. I'm happy to endorse this plan because it provides important guidance for future planning and development in Bannockburn.
Pretty much support the council endorsed the management plan. We had a presentation. It's extremely important to develop and provide the required plan framework to ensure when we're talking about the growth that we're going to have in the Golden Plains Shire, mainly in the Bannockburn area with South Bannockburn and what we've heard tonight about Ormond Road. So it's very important that we manage the demands of the population growth and most importantly we ensure the sustainability of the water resources in the region. So I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? All those in favour?
Sorry, I'd like to speak.
Sorry, I think Councillor Gamble just missed out again. All those in favour? We now move to item 7.11. The Delegates' Report and Informal Meetings of Councillors' Records. I refer councillors to page 54 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the Delegates' Report and informal meetings of councillors for the past month. Are there any questions? I have a mover of this recommendation, Councillor Robbins, and do I have a seconder, Councillor Cunningham? Councillor Robbins, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'll just speak briefly about the Grampians 2025 and Beyond Forum. The forum was held at the Ararat Town Hall and it was well attended by our council and neighbours from Northern Grampians, Hepburn, Pyrenees, Horsham and other councils in the Grampians region. Councillors spoke about the challenges to sustainability and growth, especially in parts of the region with lower economic diversity. We talked about making sure that growth isn't cannibalistic and that there are benefits for our communities as a result. And the day was about encouraging an open, honest dialogue and for Regional Development Australia to take away an understanding of how our region can be supported.
Mayor, just a few things. I attended the Shelford Australia Day breakfast and just want to congratulate the Inverleigh Shelford Progress Association and holding successful, well-attended Australia Day breakfast. Once again, my attendance at this event allowed me to engage local residents. Shelford Duck Race, which I think a couple of the other councillors will probably speak about. Approximately 3,000 people attended the annual duck race. Once again, well done to all the local groups, as I think there's about 4 or 5 of the groups come together, and that's their major fundraising for the community. Once again, a very well done event. Golden Plains Soccer Club, I was invited to attend the season launch of the Masters Summer League at the Golden Plains Soccer Facility. 14 teams take part. Well done. The committee is pretty much a new committee, and they're doing a really great job. I've been up a couple of nights and they're getting lots of numbers. Also, the feedback from the players and teams that took part was extremely positive about the facility and the ground. That's it. Also had a Tourism Geelong Industry Conference. I attended. That was a full day. 260 people attended. Once again, it was extremely well planned, delivered conference that was designed to help members navigate through the evolving trends and opportunities shaping tourism industry and provide info sessions to assist with adapting changes to visitors' expectation and emerging markets. Can I just add also, I don't know if the other councillors know, but recently the Bannockburn Golf Club opened up 18 holes of greens at the golf course. The increased number of green fees and visitors is extremely positive. The other reason with it is it's now if people coming out to play golf and to visit the golf club, it also brings them to our town, which speaking to them they've never been before. They stop at the pub, they stop at the local coffee shop. So things like that in the local bowls club is really important, plus the wineries that we've got. So it's good to see that we've got some of those tourists coming into our area. During this week I planned a Tourism Greater Geelong planning workshop. That was another full day. The workshop was covered items such as insights updates in the current tourist visitor trends, opportunities and challenges. Topics also covered were destination marketing, sustainable development, strategic planning and industry capability. Time was also spent reviewing and developing the corporate plan vision. Once again, it was a very well run day and successful day, and well done to everyone behind the scenes. That's about it. Thank you, Mayor.
Are there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Gamble.
I'd like to speak for. Just to note that there's not much there in my list, so but that's partly because I have no particular delegations at the moment until we get to item 7.15 tonight, where I will be assigned delegations. But that said, I have been attending local community events, a couple of food gatherings, the Banno markets, including the excellent Twilight Market, and Councillor Sharkey and I have both participated in random Bannockburn park runs. However, my knees are pretty sore at the moment. So, but anyway, I'm looking forward to being able to get back onto the to have delegations and meetings to attend to represent our shire in the future. Thank you.
I'll now put the motion. All those.
Sorry, you didn't ask again around the
Sorry,
table.
go ahead, Councillor Kirby.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd just like to say that I attended the Rokewood Australia Day breakfast and launch of the Rokewood Corrindap Community Plan. I'd also, we had a great day and was attended by quite a few. I'd also like to thank the other townships for their invitation for me to attend, but I was an apology due to the launch on the day. We had the Golden Plains Shire tour around the Shire, and that was accommodated by all the directors, CEO and councillors. We had a great day. It was probably good for some of the newer councillors on the Shire to see what's out there and what's you know, it's a big Shire, so it's good for them to see what, you know, some of the different towns and that they might not have experienced even doing their rounds when advocating to go onto council. I also attended the Grampians 2025 and beyond, the state of the region, the same as Emma. However, there is a couple of topics that I would like to follow up on. And the three key topics on the day were understanding our economy, the economic drivers of our region, and partnering to empower communities and maximise opportunities. So what we were hearing is, we have the farmers and, they've got the wheat in the ground, but then it gets shipped off. It goes interstate, it goes overseas. We're not following on any processes within our region for developing and providing job opportunities. It's no different to having an egg farm, or the eggs get taken somewhere else and for distribution. We need to have these opportunities within our shire. Or if it was chickens, we should have the plant to kill the birds here and do the processing, but they go out of our shire. So, these are some of the bigger picture things that we need to look at. There was, as Councillor Robbins said, there was also a lot to do with housing. There's a lot of people around the region who need housing. And so whether it's worker accommodation, we have to be on the front foot to provide a lot more of these things. And we know the governments are trying, but let's face it, it's the state government who has the land. We hardly have any land of our own within the Golden Plains Shire. And it's the state government we need to push to open up their land for some of these initiatives. On the way out the door, this was a main concern. I was talking to Stuart Benjamin, he's the chair of the Grampians. And I said to him, it's all right to say, and we want to do all these, economic growth, but at the end of the day, there is no tourism without pamphlets, without promoting the area. Now, I brought this up 4 years ago when I was the previous mayor with the Ballarat group, and the first thing he said to me was, I got off the plane and I did not see one pamphlet at the airport. And this is Avalon. So we're trying to promote Avalon for the people to get off the aeroplane and to come to our beautiful region and head all the way up through
Kirby,
to the
your
Grampians.
3 minutes time is up. Did you want to seek an extension to keep talking?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
So we just have to make sure that, we go to these forums, but we've got to make sure we follow up and get some action happening. So that's one of my main concerns. And the big one, the opening of the oval upgrade at the Don Wallace Reserve in Teesdale. This was an $800,000 project, $250,000 from the state government, country football netball program, and the remaining $548,000 provided by the Shire. This is a great initiative, and it shows where our ratepayers' money is going. It's going back to our local communities. So out of that money, the Teesdale Oval has now irrigation on the oval, new drainage, the realignment of the oval, new fencing, coaches boxes, goalposts, and safety netting. This was a priority within our priority list 4 years ago, and it's just great to see that this has come to fruition, and we've had the state government behind us to help back and get this project over the line. Because as we know, Teesdale is a growing community, and with all the youngsters up there, they did approach us and they really pleaded with us to try and get some upgrades happening at Teesdale. So just good to see where our money goes as ratepayers. Thank you.
Are there any other councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Wish to exercise your right of reply, Councillor Robbins.
Yeah, I'll just return to what Councillor Kirby was saying about a lot of our primary produce in the region leaves the region without any value-added processing. That was a big theme of the forum, and what a lot of people spoke about was that the policy settings, especially at the state government level, don't support that kind of industry growing in our region. That's all. Thank you.
Now the motion. All those in favour? Item 7.12. 7.12, the draft council plan to be submitted for municipal health and wellbeing plan exemption. I refer councillors to page 56 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that council endorses the draft council plan for submission to the Secretary, Department of Health, for approval of the integration of the municipal health and wellbeing plan. Are there any questions? Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Do I have a seconder? Wish to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, yeah, this is an important item to on which we're asking for an exemption in order to include our municipal public health and wellbeing plan as part of our overall council plan document. So, yeah, basically, I support the council and thank the officers concerned working towards this objective, and it's ultimately to put these two documents together for the benefit of the Golden Plains Shire residents in helping to provide services to those residents as much as possible, budgeting and everything, but it also serves to prioritise that health and wellbeing aspect of our services as a significant and core part of our council plan now and in the next one too. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add that it's my understanding that many councils are combining their public health and wellbeing plan as part of their council plan, to the point where it's almost absurd that this is the exemption position rather than the standard position. Thank you.
Councillors who wish to speak against the motion? I will now put the motion. All those in favour? I move to item 7.13, the councillor internal resolution procedure. I refer councillors to page 61 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that council adopt the councillor internal resolution procedure as required by the Local Government Act 2020 and in compliance with the requirements of Schedule 1A of the Local Government Governance and Integrity Regulations 2020, revoke the Councillor Code of Conduct 2021 and revoke the Councillor Dispute Resolution Policy 2021. Are there any questions? Mover of this recommendation? Councillor Cunningham. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Robbins. Councillor Cunningham, did you wish to speak to the motion?
As a former mayor, I fully support and endorse the implementation and external dispute resolution policy procedure. As noted in the discussion notes, the implementation of this policy procedure will assist and provide a structured pathway for disputes between councillors to be addressed, and also alleged breaches of the Councillor Code of Conduct. I believe the introduction of this process will provide a level of accountability for councillors regarding behaviour, interactions between each other and council staff. The introduction of this resolution procedure is long overdue, and I fully support its implementation.
Robbins, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I'll just say I think it makes sense to adopt a fairly standardised dispute resolution procedure as a group of councillors trying to work together. We're not all that different from any other council in Victoria.
Are there any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Sharkey.
It's not so much speaking against it, but expressing some frustration with this, because what we're doing here is we're revoking the Councillor Code of Conduct because the state government have implemented a model code of conduct across the whole state. So every single council, all 79 councils, have the councillor code of conduct. Fantastic implementation by the state government, but why they can't just implement this as well is absurd, that we as one council, and another 78 councils all have to go and discuss this. And as Councillor Robbins highlighted there, it's fairly standardised, but it's not completely standardised. I don't know why, in the wisdom of the state government, they just can't implement a code of conduct and a resolution process, save councils hundreds of hours of time and thousands of dollars. It's absolutely absurd. But the decision here we're making here tonight is a good one to implement that, but more just that frustration, and that frustration isn't just the state government. It is, you know, the question has to be asked whether our governing bodies, the MAV and the advocacy group conversation of our leaders in the industry, it just baffles me that decisions like this can't be a lot easier than what they are. Thank you.
To the motion. Councillor Gamble.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it's good to see it's the same for all councils, and it's had Maddocks lawyers' authorship. It's great having an internal resolution procedure and rules and governance guidance on these issues, but ultimately we have to have goodwill amongst ourselves, and the basic things, the basic values are just respect, listening, being courteous, appreciating people have different values. A lot of these things that we've covered in the induction issues, and we really need to sort of walk the talk and hope we don't need this internal resolution procedure, but that's not entirely, that might be a little bit Pollyannish of me, but there's much I could say on past issues involving myself in my term as mayor, but I won't, and I hope that this represents a much better pathway into smoother sailing for councils all over the state into the future. Thank you.
Nothing else to add, Madam Mayor, thank you.
I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Item 4, Quarter 2 Finance Report. I refer councillors to page 64 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council note the Quarter 2 Finance Report for the 6-month period from 1st of October until 31st of December 2024. Are there any questions? Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gamble. Wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. Just speaking to this. This is a quarter 2 report, and again, it is quite challenging. I think with 90% of the questions that we ask as councillors to the relevant officers around numbers jumping higher and lower, there does always seem to be constant updating. It's a living and live document in terms of grant money coming in later than expected, and creating variations to the budget, which are extremely sort of frustrating. So I think there's there on page 65 highlights some of the challenges we've had in terms of not being able to not so much balance the numbers, but the reasons why the numbers are bouncing with additional sales and lower staff numbers, creating a positive variance. But I did want to speak on this in terms of the process that we go through, because we look at this document and we analyse this, but one of the greatest things you can do with your time as a councillor is attend an audit and risk committee meeting and see the independent members. We do have 3 independent members, and they are essentially our engine room. They're the ones that we solely rely on. It gives me great confidence because the questions that those 3 independent members ask are extremely challenging, and challenging in the sense that their level of questioning is generally, with all due respect to all of us here, some of them are chartered accountants. They've got the areas and expertise of risk and management and stuff like that. So their level of questioning is fantastic. So this item did come up through the Audit and Risk Committee meeting. There were some fantastic questions asked. The confidence of the Audit and Risk Committee are there, and they fully support a Q2 update, as do I. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to thank the officers for concern for their comprehensive report. Yeah, it's a very clear and concise statement on complex matters, as Councillor Sharkey mentioned. I'd particularly like the clarifications and explanations of these quarterly results, including the detailing of significant projects and key issues, risks section. Also, the listing of significant expenditure items to come into the future, which includes, for example, the Moorabool River Master Plan actions in Batesford, tree maintenance and planting coming into the wetter season, the Rokewood Community Hub and responsible and compliant management of the Rokewood landfill, completion of a lot of drainage maintenance works around the Shire too. So there's considerable complexity with the accounting and attributable time frames that does require that specialist understanding. However, I note, as Councillor Sharkey mentioned, that has also proceeded through the Audit and Risk Committee. So I'm satisfied it's a true account or picture of how our council is tracking financially over the Q2. And to quote the conclusion, quote, "The report and the attached documents is consistent with the adopted budget and long-term financial plan after taking into account the movements described above." Thank you.
Any councillors who wish to speak against the motion? All those in favour?
Can I just close?
Sorry, I didn't go back to you. Yes, you can.
No, no. And sorry. I just wanted to raise one point which I overlooked. There on page 69, 70 is our new commit. So the contracts awarded above $450,000, which are in our budget, and are authorised, signed off by the CEO. But first, it'll go through our contract award committee. So we've got some new delegates on that committee there, and it lists there the decisions that we make. So it's not those decisions aren't exclusively made by the CEO. It'll go through that contracts committee, and you'll and the variations. So all those figures there is a significant variation to some of those contracts, but they are all within our budget. And yeah, I think that's an introduction recently that we've implemented that contracts committee, and it's doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
Those in favour? Unanimous decision. Thank you. 1.5. Council Committee Delegations. I refer councillors to page 73 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council adopts the appointment of councillors to various internal and external organisations and committees for the 2024 to 2025 period as follows, and these are printed on page 73 of the agenda. Are there any questions on this? I have a mover of the recommendation, Councillor Sharkey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gamble.
So I'll take this one as read. Madam Mayor, this is extremely simple and straightforward. We've just had a couple of changes to it with the introduction of a new councillor. So very simple and straightforward. I don't think there's much to add further to that. Thank you.
I just quickly, through a prior negotiation process, I've largely taken on Councillor Glenn's responsibilities, with minor adjustments, the chief one being on the G21 sustainability pillar. I also thank Mayor Hayden for taking on the Disability Advisory Committee with myself as proxy. Thank you.
Any wish to speak against the motion? All those in favour? now move to item 7.16. 7.16 is regarding the Essential Services Volunteer Fund. I refer councillors to page 77 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council write to the Treasurer, the Honourable Jacqueline Symes MP, and Victorian Government local members, the Honourable Michaela Settle MP from Eureka and the Honourable Christine Cousins MP from Geelong, regarding concerns about the impact of the proposed Essential Services Volunteer Fund on the Golden Plains Shire community, and seek that, if implemented, the Essential Services Volunteer Fund be managed directly by the Victorian Government, not via local government. Are there any questions on this? I have a mover of the recommendation, Councillor Phelan, and a seconder, Councillor Kirby. Councillor Phelan, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Sure do. This is just totally outrageous, this new tax that's being on everybody. If you look at the cost it's costing rural people now on the fire service level is bad enough, where people's doubled this year. So there's lots of people out there going to pay 17, 18. Big farmers, I understand, but they're paying $30,000 fire levy now. And this is going to put 107% on it. This is just outrageous. The state government's turning us into tax collectors on their behalf. And I think it's about time it stopped. And the damn land tax on everybody, they just will not stop. And if they don't stop this, the survey will collapse because people are just going to walk away because it's just cost far too much money to run there.
Oh, sorry, Councillor.
Thank you. Yes, I totally agree with Councillor Phelan, what he's just said, and we know that the rural people are the ones that put in. They're the ones that put in. That they do the job for the fire services. You know, it's a volunteer service, and yet they're getting slugged in their own backyard by these totally ridiculous high rates and levies. And at the end of the day, we are the ones who are going to have the burden of upgrading our IT systems to manage the state government's levies that they're putting on our ratepayers, and now our ratepayers are going to have to pay this as well. So we're getting hit in every direction. So I think at the end of the day, we've got to put a stop to it. And I'd also think that this should be brought up at the MAV everywhere we can go, to the G21, to the Ballarat Alliance of Councils, the Peri-Urban Group of Councils. We have to keep on all the mayors and other CEOs' ears and make sure that this does not, encroach on our ratepayers, because we're the ones who are going to foot the bill at the end of the day. Thank you.
It's this motion.
I'd like to speak on it, please. It's basically a doubling of the fire services levy, and it's being used ostensibly to help pay for other emergency services. But I think it would be more equitably collected through income or GST means, and it's more about the shifting the optics about onto local government as putting it on the rates when, I think that's not the best way to go about it. Thank you.
I'll state here, this is being brought in as a new charge that ratepayers will see on their rates bill. It's planned to be significantly more than the previous fire service levy, and it'll disproportionately impact primary producers. And it's another example of state government cost shifting to councils, so we have to do the work of collecting their revenue for them. So I support the recommendation to write to our representatives expressing our rejection of the way the charge is currently planned.
Sorry. Councillor Phelan? Yes, Councillor Phelan.
Look, I think that this is a really concerning thing, and the background of this is that years and years ago, your insurance policy paid for fire vehicles in the CFA. In the good old days, whatever insurance company you insured with, they would have their own fire appliances, going back 100 years. So when they turned up to somebody's property, if they weren't insured with that fire brigade, well, they just drove off. So they put it on the insurance policy to fund the organisation. The Liberal government in 16, I think it was around 16, decided that there was a lot of people not insured but receiving the benefits of the fire levy. So they changed the fire levy to rates, which was, I don't think there was an issue with it. It was all right. But now we have a government that's using it as a collection agency for them. And it's totally unfair. It's getting right away from the spirit of the tax, and we're going to see big ramifications because people are not going to pay it. It's just ridiculous. And I think that there's got to be some sort of a workshop held so we can go to the state government and say this is overboard.
We'll now put the motion then. All those in favour? Unanimous. Now move to item 8.1. 8.1 is a notice of motion, Independent Roads Service Review and Report. I refer councillors to page 83 of the agenda for this report. The motion is that council receive an initial report on any independent monitoring of the council-managed road and drainage network at the April scheduled council meeting. The initial report shall include an assessment of the potential benefits and drawbacks of conducting a further review and costing for an independent roads service review and report. Notes the scope of the potential independent roads service review and report should consider key aspects such as the adopted road management plan intervention levels, compliance to intervention levels, plants and equipment, staffing levels and maintenance schedules and practices, and will consider the findings and costings for proceeding with the independent roads service review and report as part of the budget deliberations for the financial year 2025 to 2026. Are there any questions on this? Mover of the recommendation.
Yeah, thanks. I'll move my notice of motion as the motion. Very much. I'll speak to the motion now. This this notice of motion comes out of what I feel is a need or a want as both a councillor but also as a community to sort of raise and elevate the issue of roads. Roads during our election campaign certainly was for me was definitely one of the top issues across the Shire. We're going through a budget process at the moment, and I do thank the CEO Shane Waldron for working with me on this one. I submitted this to him a number of days last week actually, and then just worked it and sort of fine-tuned this. So the intention of this, and we're not debating or speaking to actually getting an independent person to do this, but what I'm asking for is it done in two steps. One, that we receive a report at our next briefing in terms of, okay, councillors, if you want to do this, this is the cost to get an independent in to assess our roads and to take a deep dive. This is the cost, this is the benefits, these are the challenges. I personally don't know whether it's a fantastic idea or whether it's something we should 100% do, but hopefully through that sort of briefing session we get a really good understanding of whether this is something that would be a good investment of money on behalf of our ratepayers. But what I'm hoping that we get out of this is an independent view, appreciating that our works team and all that do the job that they do, but it is so complex, and I think a report was done many years ago, and I know other councils have done them, to look at the organisation from outside in, holistically, and then hopefully from that we get a view of, look, you're doing this excellently, this is what you're doing really well, here's the areas of challenge. I personally would love to hear some independent commentary around the things that we're doing really well, where we are being challenged. I know that I know we have constant staffing issues. We're challenged by certain things in that regard, and just getting that together, and then hopefully this report and document will follow us on our next 4 years of a journey on council, and we can hopefully get some really good recommendations and some really good outcomes from this. But the intention of this is not to single out anything that we're doing bad, but just to holistically look at what we can do better. And some of that might be just coming back to the community. Like roads will always, we will never solve roads. Roads will always be a top issue of our community. But I just think this is a public declaration by us as a new council group to sort of say, okay, look, we appreciate roads is there, and let's work forward to some really good, hopefully some good outcomes. Thank you very much.
I'll reserve my right, thanks. I'll reserve it.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to speak against it because I think we could ask for a report from our officers on these issues without having to have this kind of expression of lack of confidence in their understanding and an expression of the issues with our road network. So I'm not sure that, I don't think this is the right way to go. Getting a consultant to do such a big project is comes at a big cost, and we already have independent assessors of our road conditions.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. The motion isn't asking for a review to be done. Councillor Gamble is speaking to a review being done. That's not the motion.
There's an initial report, and the context of that report is assessing our roads. So I'm saying that our council already has independent consultants assess our roads and feeds into the prioritisation of actions. So I don't think we need this independent road service review, and I think it displays a lack of confidence in our
Point of order,
officers
we're not asking for an independent review.
I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Other councillors who wish to speak on the motion? Wish to exercise your right?
This is only asking for permission to go there. It's not going to cost anything yet. We're asking whether or not it can happen. And we can say what we like. If the more pressure we can put on government to get money, the better off we'll be. If you take a drive around the western part of this municipality where I live, the roads are totally had it. And something's got to be done. And this is a small step in the direction to get more money into our roads building and maintenance. It's a step in the right direction, because right now we're going backwards.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just close by I can hear what Councillor Gamble is saying and the sentiment that's there, but just remember all this is doing is asking for officers to bring a report to a briefing, and the briefing will say it's going to cost this much, you're going to have to, and this is the pros and cons. And like I said, I'm not 100% convinced on that myself, but I'm hoping that report will highlight challenges, both positive and negative. This is not 100%, and I tried to put that into my opening. This is not a sign of a lack of confidence in staff. It is wanting to get some independent advice. I've worked with the CEO on this one for that exact reason. I don't want to bring this to the chamber and have an attack. That is not what it is. I think out of that independent report will come some challenges that we've got and highlight the positive work that we are doing, and hopefully communicate that to the community. But this is just asking. I'm asking council to take one step, get a report, and then we have that conversation later on. And I may very well agree that it might not be worthwhile going through that process. But at this stage, I want to make a public declaration to the community that we are taking, as Councillor Phelan said, a step in the right way, a small step, be it to help the issue of roads in our shire. So I'll wish that councillors will support this. Thank you.
I will now put the motion. All those in favour? Robbins, Councillor Sharkey, Councillor Kirby, Councillor Cunningham. Move on to item 9, petitions. So no petitions have been received. Item 10, confidential reports for discussion. There have been no confidential reports for decision. Are there any additional items? Councillor Cunningham.
Madam Mayor, I wish to move a motion to close the meeting to members of the public as follows. That in accordance with section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting be closed to members of the public for the consideration of items of business which are confidential as they relate to personal information, being information which, if released, would be result in an unreasonable disclosure of information about a person and their personal affairs. I believe this item is of urgent business will be posed by the Senate.
But no one's speaking. No one's voted against it. So I think we can go straight.
So yeah, we'll just go straight. I'll now put the motion. So all those in favour, sorry, correct Councillor Sharkey, all those in favour for us to conduct urgent business? It's a unanimous decision. Thank you.